Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Bill Jordan here from Rubicon Studios. Today we have with us live, broadcasting from Indiana, Newcastle, Indiana. We have Miss Stacey Torres. And good morning, Stacey. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you.
All right, all right, all right. So here's something that really puzzles me. Could you tell us your name again, please?
Stacey Torres.
What about that middle name?
On Facebook, that Maupin, that's my maiden name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and yeah. I don't go by that for my art, but on Facebook you can find me that way because it's for old friends and family to locate me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I'm Stacey Torres. Yeah.
And so you were married to Mr. Torres?
I was, yeah.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
¿Hablas español?
No.
Oh.
No, not unless I use Babelfish.
Okay.
No, I don't speak Spanish.
All right.
I can understand if I'm in trouble, though.
So you're in Newcastle, Indiana, right? And you're an expat.
Correct.
You're an expat from the Big Apple. Is that correct?
That's right.
And so
I want to go home.
That's where you grew up in the Big Apple?
Not really. Well, I lived there. I was born there, and I lived there until I was about 13. My mother relocated us to Indiana when she remarried.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And after high school, yeah, I went back after high school and lived several years and came back here.
Oh, okay. All right. And so tell me, so it was your mom, you and your brother and your dad, that you had a close-knit family like that?
No, it was just my mother. My father and my mother split when I was about 5.
Oh, wow.
And I was her only child. He had other children that I didn't meet until I was an adult. But she and I moved here when she remarried, and my stepfather was from here.
Oh,
and so it was huge cultural change, but I don't regret it.
Is that in some way, how did you get into the art? Does that cultural shock propel you into art, or how did that come out?
I was born with that.
Really?
I've been painting and drawing and creating since I was probably 2 or 3. I would destroy things in a house and then paint them and hope that I would get away with it. But I studied art through school, and I have to say in the early 70s, I gave it up because I couldn't, I just didn't know what I could do with art as a career. I didn't want to be an illustrator, and that was the only thing open to me at the time. And so I just let it go, and I stopped until 2014.
Oh, okay.
My mother had Alzheimer's. I was a caregiver, and I started painting as therapy for both of us.
Oh, okay.
She could relate to it, and it gave me comfort. When she passed, that was when people began to purchase my art. And
Really?
It's just gone from there. It kind of snowballed overnight, literally.
So for the other artists out there, how did you do that? How did you parlay the business and the art together? How did you marry the two?
It just happened. I'm also a dancer, and I went to a dance festival a couple of years ago. I started sketching for the dancers that were there, and they saw the pictures on Facebook, and some of them wanted to purchase, and I was encouraged. So I just kept going. I opened an Etsy shop, and little did I know, I mean, I'm a folk artist, and a lot of people don't get that, but it took off. It took off, and in fact, 4 months into it, I had 5 pieces on ABC's Criminal Minds. Well, it's on CBS, but ABC
Whoa,
co-produced.
wait, back up, back up. You say you a celebrity? I'm talking to a celebrity, a bona fide celebrity. Go ahead. How did that happen? How'd you get the pieces?
No,
Huh?
they found me on Etsy, actually. They
Uh-huh.
saw my work on Etsy. They have staff members who go around and look for props and whatnot for their different shows. And that particular day, they were looking for artwork. And this was last year. They purchased the digital rights to 5 pieces to be shown in one episode. I think they used 2 or 3. The rest went on the cutting floor. But then 2 weeks later, they contacted me. They wanted to get something else and ended up using it on another episode, both of which were in season 10 of the series.
Wow.
So that was
That's
validation for me that I really needed. Yeah.
congratulations. What a thrill, right?
You know, huge thrill. I've only watched both episodes once because they were so violent I couldn't look at it again.
Oh, right.
And the first time I missed seeing my art the first time because I was so busy watching the show I forgot to look. But my friends did screenshots and the network sent me pictures.
Oh, great, man.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
So what's your style? How do you define your style?
I didn't have a definition or name when I first started, and a cousin of mine, she and her husband were looking at my art one day, and her husband emailed me, and he says, "You've got some great folk art here," and I was like, "Oh, it's folk art," and so, and I don't have a problem with that. I guess it's folk art, and I like that because the majority of my work is influenced by my family's background, which is Caribbean. And it's all based on memory, stories that were told to me, smells, fragrances, flavors. Color is huge for me,
Yes.
big time. And
I noticed
that's where it comes from.
So
yeah.
allow me to bring something up because one of the images you sent over sort of like fits that description. And I just want us to look at that so we can, oh, I forgot. I have to go back to that. Cancel that. Cancel this. Okay, so here's that piece. Where's the piece? Oh, here it is right here. This one. Is this kind of feel you're talking about?
That was actually done a couple of months ago for an exhibit, and I did win an award for it. It's called Giordano Segreto,
Okay.
Secret Garden in Italian. I may
Oh,
have said it wrong. It's technically, the painting was supposed to be my back garden, the way it was supposed to look when I first started it, but it's not the way it looks now. It looks like Cambodia now. But it's supposedly, when I started it, it was myself and my dog outside painting the same scene.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't come out looking quite like me. But it's still one of my favorites. It's a large piece, and it's going to be on exhibit in Kentucky in January and February coming up.
What size is this piece?
It's 36 by 24, and with the framing, I think it's more like 40 by 30, perhaps. That's not big to some artists, but
Well,
it is for me. I do a lot of small, intricate pieces.
Okay. I mean, like, who's got walls bigger than that, right?
Yeah, true.
The average guy doesn't have a wall that's like 20 feet long or wide. So that's a fairly good size. Okay. Anything special about this painting that you want to share with us?
It's more of a fantasy. Like I said, it was the way I planned the garden initially, but it speaks a lot for me. There's a cardinal in there, which cardinals are very important to me spiritually. There's a cornfield behind our house that's pretty vast, and I have a few escapades out there with my dog who's in the picture. And that white rabbit, I don't know why I put him in there. But there are rabbits out there, but they're not white. But
this is the cornfield.
He's kind of like a ghost rabbit. Yeah, there's a rabbit out front.
Stacey, this is the cornfield?
Cornfield's in the back. Yeah.
Is that the cornfield?
And then I put a bottle tree in the front that is pretty important to me also.
A bottle tree in
culturally.
In the front of what?
Bottom left corner. In the bottom left corner.
This here?
That. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so could you explain that? What's a bottle tree? What does that do?
A bottle tree? I started making them years ago in the garden because I just thought they were beautiful. I would take empty bottles, different colors and whatnot, and I would put them on pieces of rebar or tree branches or whatever. And it was years later that I learned that that's actually from African culture.
Really?
A lot of people had bottle trees. And I'm not really positive about the historical meaning behind it or why they did it. But I just love them, and they reflect the light. And when it rains, it makes nice music. And
yes, right.
Very peaceful for me.
All right. So that's one of your images. Let's take a 1 minute pause while I bring up another one. All right, just hold with me. Just take a pause. Okay, could you share this is one of your Madonnas. I know that you didn't send this over, but it was on your timeline, and I liked it, and I with your permission, can we talk about this one?
Yeah, I almost sent it, but I didn't. I think I called it Mother of Machia. I don't have it in front of me, and I botch up words pretty bad, but basically it's Mother of the Messiah. And I do a lot of Madonnas. Probably I've done 20 in the last couple of years.
And why is that?
This was one of my first. I don't know, I'm drawn to them. I have this feeling when I think of Virgin Mary, Mother Mary, however you want to call her, with baby Jesus, is not necessarily being a positive image, in that there's sadness and tragedy that follows his life, but yet it's still very beautiful. And I always make them so that she feels that early on, that the relationship will be short-lived, but she's his mother, and she loves him.
How
there's a bond.
So that's the message that this that's the message this image conveys, that she's sad and about what's going to happen in the future. She knows this.
Yeah, but without really knowing, but just knowing that, things like that don't just happen without a reason behind it. She just doesn't know yet.
Right, okay.
And he's the one who's confident and secure and comfortable, because that's who he is.
He's a baby. Babies do that, right?
Babies do that, but, special babies. I guess, what do they call? He's an indigo. I don't know.
Oh,
right. Get in trouble for saying that.
Could be an indigo.
Yeah. But yeah, he's, he was always, the way I've understood it and read and studied, that Christ was always confident in everything he did and throughout his life, and safe and comfortable in it. Even at the end, knowing what the end was, he went along with the flow.
How does that type of knowledge impact your work?
Very much so. I've had some issues in the last few years that, health issues, loss of family. It's left kind of a dark side that I'm in a lot. and my faith is what pulls me through. So because art is my number one therapy, my faith is often reflected in it. You know, my religion is very personal, but I think people can read it pretty easily once they start, you know,
Once they see,
looking and seeing
once
what
they
I
see
do.
your work, right?
Yeah, and once they study it, if they will, you know. Some people see things I don't even see, and I'm like, oh, okay. I just let people do that. It's, you know, art speaks to everyone differently. Whatever message they get from it, that's fine. I don't dispute any of it. If they see
Right.
something totally different than I do,
Of
that's
course.
fine.
Right.
You know.
All right. So that's, I mean, that's a great insight, because you're giving us real 411 about Stacey, right?
Pretty much.
All right.
Pretty
So
much.
let's go to another one here. We have another piece. There's a nice. Okay, this lady here, she appears to be, she's a Hindu, right?
Yeah, her name is Sanjana. In my mind, you know, in some of my research, in folklore, she was a Pakistani princess. And this was done with ink. I did her actually last year. I've redone her a couple of times, but this is the original. And I just have a thing about Eastern countries and the warmth. And again, it's kind of like how I feel about my culture. I can taste it, I can smell it, the music, you know, all of it. Yeah, she has a bindi right here. I just thought she was just beautiful. She was in the back of my mind, and I painted her. You know,
You brought her
I've
out.
done her a couple of times.
You brought her out.
Pardon?
You brought her out for us to see.
Yeah, she's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Wow, I like your
Well,
nice use of color. Very nice. Nice contrast. Nice value.
thank you. At the bottom where it looks like marijuana leaves, that's actually, I had taken the picture and I laid the painting on some shrubbery, and that's what it is. So everybody asked me, why is there
Are you sure?
at the bottom of the painting?
Are you sure that's correct? You can act, because
Yeah.
I heard in Indiana that they be growing like cornfields.
I just kind of left it on there because I thought it looked pretty cool.
Well, I mean, yeah, it does. It does. It adds a different flavor to the piece.
Yeah, it does.
What's this called again, please? What's this called again?
It's called Sanjana.
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 And what size is this piece?
24 by 18 on paper.
Nice piece. Nice piece. So let me see. What else do I know about you? Well,
Pardon?
a lot of people speak about artists in terms of work ethic. How do you work? I mean, do you get up in the morning at 10 o'clock in the morning, 11, 12, give us a typical day in your life.
Oh God, I have no schedule. There's no rhyme or reason for what I do and when I do it. Sometimes, when I first started, I did have a schedule. I would get up like 5 in the morning and I would go out and work on my garden. And then I would come in, have breakfast, and then I would paint till about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, stop, and then maybe start up again at night. Well, I'm 60, I'll be 63 this month, so I'm older, and I don't have a schedule that I have to adhere to. I've had some health issues, so sometimes I sleep a lot. I may get up in the middle of the night, and I may paint from 2 in the morning to 6 in the morning. There's no discipline other than I'm dogged about it. I don't stop until I'm done. I'm pretty much I'm not going to say a speed painter, but my pieces don't take me months. They may take days, very seldom weeks. Some of them do, but it's almost like I can't stop once I start. There'll be sometimes I may paint straight through 24, 36 hours and on coffee and candy and,
what is your process?
Whatever works.
How do you start your work first? You do a sketch first, or how do you do that?
I used to, every now and then I might sketch, do like an anatomy sketch, because most of my work is portraits. I might block it off, but for the most part, no, I just take that paint and I just throw it on there and I just start going. I often don't even know what it is I'm painting until it's done. Okay. However it comes out, I mean, I know what it is, but it's pretty much not, it's almost, it's surreal. It comes from within, and I just let it go.
So are you in contact? Do you have a muse or something like that you rely on?
No. I've met a few artists on Facebook over the last couple of years that I'm pretty much in tune with. They've been really helpful as far as mentoring me when I ask them to. Most people pretty much know I'm a little bit quirky, so they don't offer me much info unless I ask. But I like there's a couple of older, now deceased artists that I relate to. Like I love Henri Matisse, Frida Kahlo. They're almost like a lifeblood, and I have painted several portraits of Frida. I think a lot of people do, though. But Matisse is particularly, I think he's probably my favorite artist.
Why is he?
And that's, I think because he had no rules like me. I don't have any rules, and he just, everything was very, even though it was very delightful to look at, it really was structured, but in his own way. Everything looks relaxed. His use of color is chaotic like mine, but yet it balances and makes sense. And I have a running theme where I have painted over the years several women like lounging on sofas or with pillows, kind of like Sanjana. I've done several of those. And it wasn't until after I did about 10 or 20 that I realized, well, Matisse did a lot of these too. And so I think I'm influenced by him quite a bit.
Yeah,
and Frida Kahlo, I just loved her work and loved her. And she paints her life, which I do.
Okay.
It's like an autobiography on canvas. And
okay,
that's pretty much.
Let's take a pause for the cause, all right?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Be right back. Come on. Here. Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
I thought he'd slip through.
We're back in sync.
He's jealous of, yeah.
So now, here's a question for you. Why do you do what you do?
I don't know. Well, yes, I do. For many years, I did what everyone thought I should do to make a living. I worked as a legal assistant for over 30 years. I sold real estate. I had the safe jobs, I've always wanted to be an artist, but like I said, when I was younger, I didn't know how to execute that and how to make it work for me. So now you know, I've put this before, like in my artist statement. When I see the word artist behind my name, it just does something to me because I never ever dreamed that would be possible. I haven't even thought of that for so long, and I'm at peace with it. This is what this is the first time I've found my one constant joy.
Right. I understand.
Other than a couple other things, you know, I like to bake and dance, but really, it is. If as long as I'm able, this is what I will do. Last year, I had come out of the hospital and I painted several pieces lying flat on my back for weeks.
Wow.
I just don't feel like I can stop. And
So what was the
so I pretty much
what made the shift? What was it that made you shift from, you know, going down the path of what other people thought you should do and, you know, just doing what you want to do?
Part of it was the caregiving that I was doing. It was beginning to take its toll on me, and a lot of my friends kept telling me, "Save yourself, do you." You know, it doesn't mean I would not be loving my mother or I'd love her any less. I cared for her just the same. Nothing changed. But I was beginning to, I had become pretty much reclusive, taking care of her. Eventually, she ended up in a nursing home close by where I could see her every day or often as I wanted. I didn't know how to take care of me. Having been caregiver so long to her and a couple of other elders, I had me on the back burner. And when people say take care of yourself, I still really don't know what that means. So a lot of people would say, you know, do what makes you happy, you know, even if it's no matter what it is. And I took a year when I traveled a little bit. And again, like I said, I just started painting. It just kind of came to me when it was in her last year. I could, you know, I could tell she was fading quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went out and bought some paper, and I was using ink at the time, mostly markers. And I would just sketch, and she would notice them and smile, and it gave me a lot of comfort. And then all of a sudden, I mean, this is what I do. It just defined me. And
Well, you know, maybe there's something about parents when they're passing, they give something to the child, even though we don't think of it that way. But in your case, it seems to be the way it happened.
yeah, and there's a lot of creativity in my family, and on my father's side also. I didn't know that part of my family until about 4 or 5 years ago when my brother passed away. He left several living children, and a few of them are artists and very wonderful artists.
Okay.
You know, two of my nieces are excellent, Kim and Tara, and so it's there. And on my mother's side, there's a lot of creativity. My mother was a milliner at one time, and she painted. My grandparents were designers, fashion designers.
Wow.
And my grandfather went to Pratt. And
so it runs in the family.
I was there. Yeah. They encouraged me. Yeah. They encouraged my gift
So
when I was very young.
You're not doing all this painting. What do you do for recreation?
Paint, buy paint, buy art supplies.
Don't you go dancing?
Well, I'm a fusion dancer. Started out with belly dance, and I'm a fusion dancer. I haven't performed in a couple of years because of health issues, which I will be again. But I garden, I bake. I don't have really a huge social life anymore because of where I am. I'm pretty limited, but I do go to a lot of art events. I exhibit quite a bit. I do a lot of group exhibits, so I'm involved with some art groups in Indianapolis that have been huge in promoting me.
Other people, how'd you meet them?
Well, there is a curator and artist in Indianapolis. Her name is Dee Del Rivera Jennings. She found my work on Black Art in America, and she invited me to be part of her group called Flavor Fresh, which is a group of artists that we do multi exhibits every year at different venues. And I started with them last year, and it's just blossomed, and it's been amazing. The exposure through that, well, not really through that, but I promote my work constantly on social media. And I was recently invited to do my first solo exhibit. It will be in January and February at the Janice Mason Art Museum in Cadiz, Kentucky, or
Oh,
Cadiz. In Indiana, we say Cadiz, but I know they pronounce it differently.
congratulations. That's
And
great.
that came from a hashtag, actually. They were looking for artists to do exhibits next year, and they Googled Indiana artists, which is a hashtag that I frequently use, and
Okay,
that's how they found me. So
congratulations.
you never know.
So you
Thank
just like
you.
having a ball, juggling all the balls, cooking, bake. Oh, by the way, what's your favorite baking dish? What do you like to bake the most?
Well, I used to bake bread a lot, and I sold it at our local farmers market. And there were two that were very popular. One was a Mediterranean bread that I do that has feta and olives and sun-dried tomatoes and all kinds of junk in it. And the other is a mango coconut bread that I do. It's
Oh,
from my mother's side of the
oh my
family.
God, you're making me hungry these days. I love it. So
Yeah, I don't bake much anymore.
let's look at this last image before we sign off. Let's see.
Ah,
Who's that?
Carmen. It's called Carmen,
Carmen. Okay.
and it's part of a private collection now. Yeah, it's owned. A friend of mine bought it from me.
Mhm.
Carmen was actually one of my first acrylic paintings 2 years ago. It's
Good.
24 by 18 canvas.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
and she's probably by far will always be my favorite painting I've ever done.
why is that?
I I don't know. I just maybe because I've always been intimidated by painting. You know, I don't use an easel. I paint with. I'll put a huge canvas in my lap and
Yes,
paint
right.
like it's a sketch pad.
It feels good,
Yeah,
right?
that's just me.
Good, right?
Pardon?
It feels good.
Yeah, it really does. It's more personal for me. I can't stand there and do this. I'm not a plein air painter or anything like that. But I did this, and I didn't think I'd be able to. And people fell in love with it. I had a little contest on Facebook asking people to name it, and lady named it Carmen, and it just it just stuck, you know. And
So what is
but
what is
she's gone.
what is Carmen about? What is she telling me? How should I feel about Carmen?
Carmen is her own woman. She's very independent, uh, but she's got some insecurities, like a lot of us do. And she's at a point in her life where there's some uncertainties, and she's holding on to what's worked for her in the past.
Mhm.
And in this painting, I feel like she's just looking out at her possibilities and trying to decide what's going to happen next, which is a lot the way I feel in my life. I'm kind of at a plateau where I'm not sure, am I going to stay in the Midwest? Am I going to move back home? Or am I going to go to the ocean, which I wanted until all the hurricanes came? What am I going to do? You know, I don't really know. And Carmen kind of reflects that, although I don't smoke.
Oh, okay.
But I felt she needed that persona.
She needed something.
because she does what she wants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to relocate, you want to go to the ocean. Where's the ocean? Like Florida or California?
I like the Atlantic. I like the ocean at home. The northern Atlantic where it's rough and dark. That's what I like.
Okay.
I miss that. I have a cousin that lives in Maine, and she's always saying, you ought to come here. You know, lobsters are appealing, but I'm a vegetarian now, so I can't even have that. But I did want to go to Florida because there are artist communities there, but I don't like humidity, and there's a lot of that there too. So
Yes.
right now, I'm safe where I am. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll just keep painting. No matter where I am, there always will be an internet, so my work will always be available no matter where I go.
Right. Let's thank God for the internet, right?
And yeah, absolutely. 90% of my sales are online.
Congratulations.
So
So
thank you.
like, what is it about yourself that you want your collectors to know that's sort of like, something very personal? So personal in the sense that,
Well, each piece is exceedingly personal to me, no matter what it is. Even if I do I do a lot of small painted greeting cards. They're very personal. I can't just sit and sketch something randomly and say, here, buy this. That's not who I am or what I do. Everything speaks from something within me, something deeply rooted. And often, like, I will tell a story about my work, like on my listings, on Etsy or on my Facebook. There is a small story that goes along with it. And when people commission me to do work, I grill them on what that person is about. If I don't know them, what's important to them, what do they like, what do they dislike, what do they miss in life? And I try to put that into.
Let's make believe that I've commissioned you to do a piece, a portrait. So take me through that process.
And would the portrait be of yourself?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. I would ask you your hobbies. What are your favorite colors?
Let's role play that right now. Can we do that?
Okay, sure.
Thanks,
So,
Stacey.
Bill,
Thanks for coming over. I want to get a portrait. Can you help me out?
Of course I can. Now, I don't have people sit for me. I like to work from memory of photographs. And I'd like you to tell me what's important to you. What is your favorite place to be? I mean, where are you most comfortable? What do you like to eat? What are your colors? What don't you like? Do you have a pet? Do you like to read? Do you like music? And if so, what kind? I need to know these things because that will come through in the art in some form or another.
So which one should I answer first?
I'm sorry.
Which
Where do you like to be? Your location. What's an ideal spot?
I like to be someplace that's warm and has a beach, and it has greenery and it has water other than the beach water. Has a view.
Okay. So if I were doing that, and again, I may say that now, but it may not be how it comes out because once I start, I may feel it differently. But if I were doing that, I would probably have you in a small cottage that would be near the seashore. The seashore would be in the background, but you would probably be sitting out on the porch, and there might be a garden feature with water, like a fountain or a bird bath. Do you like books?
Yes, I like books.
If you like, Okay.
Read.
I mean, is that an important part of your life? Would people recognize you as sitting there reading or having books around you? Certain foods like fruits or breads or that sort of thing. All of these things come into play. I try to capture that person as deeply as I can without being invasive.
Oh, okay. Well, I've given you permission to be invasive.
Huh.
You can ask. You can ask
Okay.
right ahead.
Uh, what would you want to be wearing?
Something casual.
You know, something casual,
Yeah,
casual.
because my
Uh,
ideal location is sort of like it's tropical.
right. I took a vacation several years ago to Belize before it was popular to go to Belize. And my ex and I were riding bicycles down this sandy road, like Lucy and Ricky. There was this house. It was a little beachside house, but it wasn't beachside. It was near the beach, but you couldn't see it. It was wooden clapboard, and it was actually painted lavender.
Mm.
And I remember stopping my bike and standing there and looking at this house for, oh my God, the longest time. And it had a beautiful garden. And there was an old woman who finally came out to say, "What are you doing? What do you want?" But I was just mesmerized by this property. I did end up painting it a couple of years ago, and it sold right away. But it was sandy and it was surreal and it was just inviting. She had music coming from the inside, and I would envision something like that. And it had a little wooden fence, and she had a little bottle of rum on a table. You could see it through the front door. It was like a screen door.
Yes.
And just living her life.
So I see. So you
Something like that.
you do a full workup on the person before you do their portrait.
I try to, as much as they will allow me to.
Okay.
And sometimes they won't allow me to do it at all. They'll send me a photograph and say, "Here, do this." And those are the hardest ones for me.
Right, because you don't have a feeling
to
about
do.
it. Right, I can imagine that.
No, and because I don't, often they want to rework it. You know, I'll send drafts as I go along, and I'm like, "Well,
So what is that?
can you make my eyes sad?"
How do you do that?
Pardon?
I mean, let's say when you do my portrait, do you give me a contract, or how does that work in terms of like the
I didn't do contracts before, but I sure am now, learning from experience. But basically, I keep it very, very simple. I get all the information, and then they tell me the size and the medium that they would like. And what I do is I normally tell them that as I go along, I will email them images of my progress. 95% of the time, I send them a final painting only because, like I said, I can't stop.
Right.
And so it might end up being done quicker. Sometimes, I'll show them. If it's very complex, then we go from there. And yes, I do share, progression. But I had one client that, oh my God, it was a nightmare because she didn't give me any information at all. She sent me a black and white photo that was kind of blurry. I went with that and can you change this? Can you change that? Can you change this? Till I had eventually I had to stop it. I said, no more. This is the final outcome. And she was actually pleased with it. I think we would have still been doing that if I'd let her,
You hadn't put your foot
But
down.
I didn't know anything about it.
If you hadn't put your foot down, you'd still be changing.
Exactly. And it didn't feel good to me. I have to be happy when I'm working. And if I'm not, you can definitely tell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now,
and I think that's what most artists.
Now, Stacey, how can someone get in contact with you?
I'm on Facebook. You can locate, I have an art page. It's called Original Folk Art by Stacey Torres. And I'm also on Etsy. And on Etsy, I am Stacey Torres Art, one word. STACEY Art. A lot of the paintings, a lot of my inventory is completely depleted at this point because it's all going to the exhibit in Kentucky. So once I get everything packed, which I've been doing for months now, I'll start producing some new work. But I have quite a bit on there available now, and I'm still taking commissions and holiday, work, depending on what people want.
How many
If
people,
I can do it,
how
I
many
will.
people will you be exhibiting in Kentucky?
As of now, I have 60.
Oh,
My goal was higher, but I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to burn out. And this is so new to me. I don't know a lot of the process. I'm not a framer, but I can't afford to have them professionally framed, this many. So I'm learning. I've had some friends help me with matting and wiring the frame and the whole bit. The things that most artists take for granted is like, to me, I'm like, my eyes glaze over and you could just shoot me because I won't notice.
when a possible collector or investor looks at your work, there's more than just the canvas. There's the framing, the matting, and the time that it takes to go through that process, right?
Well, for an exhibit, yes. But a lot of times if someone commissions me to do a painting, they don't want me to frame it or anything because they want to do that. They know what they want. So they can do that themselves. The only problem now is that most of the paintings that I have on Etsy that were just on canvas or paper are now framed. So that's going to change the price point on those if I have to relist them. Hopefully they'll all sell in Kentucky. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that does come into play. It's very expensive.
Yes, and I bring that up because sometimes people don't recognize or don't realize what goes into the finished product.
Oh my God, yeah, it is. The first time I had something framed, it was sticker shock. And then I realized, and I said, well, I can't do this myself. I'm learning now, but to be honest, I'd rather not be. I don't like the business end of it. I don't like the back end of it, the assembly. I just like the creative end, but that's not my reality. And so I'm doing my best.
I
And
think
that's
you're doing
about all
a
I
great
can
job.
do.
I mean, we've been on TV.
I'm on your show.
Oh, yes. You're on the Bill Jordan Show live from Obercon Studios. And as I mentioned to you, ladies and gentlemen, the co-sponsor of this show is the Academy of Composition. And for you, Stacey, I'm going to give you access to the 10artbooks.com. Go there and get a free art book as an appreciation for being on our show, courtesy of Academy of Composition. You have anything?
Thank you. I like.
Huh?
Pardon?
Excuse me?
What did you say?
What,
I didn't hear what you said.
You asked me what you said you like something? Oh, you have any further questions about anything? Any
no.
Any comments for the audience?
Yeah, I'm just very grateful that I'm still here and that I'm able to produce. And if folk art is something new to you, I would say take a look at it because it's comfortable, it's relaxed, it's down to earth, and it speaks for so many people. And feel free to contact me. I love meeting new people and working with them. And
they can contact you.
I'm going to keep doing this. I'm like Grandma Moses. So
they can contact you on Facebook, right?
Certainly.
All right.
Yeah, well, Stacey, the original folk art. Yeah.
Okay, Stacey, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's really been, a thrill to be in your presence. So until next time.
Well, thank you.
Say adieu.